All right, so this week we're gonna be going over just a January recap. As you can see, had a new best month, pulling in 8.4K. Still a little disappointed in my whole overall month, even though it was a new personal best. I'm like excited about, but still like several things I can work and improve on. Um, now I look about when I look into this month, I am excited because I'm finally over 20K for the month for overall profits, which is cool, and it's pretty much within 7 months, which is I think that's pretty good. And as you can see, when I started and when I really started tracking my data in July, like you can tell, like I was just going through my growing pains and just sideways consolidation, and then I'm finally getting. It's not a parabolic move, but it is a nice ramp up. And if you compare that to my cumulative P&L chart, you see how your chart is supposed to look, where it looks kind of like I'm starting to kind of go parabolic in a way. It's very nice to see, and something that you should compare yourself to is like how are you moving and your cumulative P&L. This kind of puts in perspective of how well is your system that you're doing. If your chart is kind of starting to look like this, I mean you're keeping your losses small, you're winning consistently, and you're gaining more than you're losing. Month that you can see from my overall stats, you can see my average win is only $378. Average loss is only $173. My biggest profit is one K. Biggest loss has only been $470. My average green day is 679. Biggest percent gain 23. Biggest loss was 22%. So I gotta get that down. Average red day is 264. Uh, and my profit factor, which is still good this month, but I still want to improve on this. And in order to be elite, which I want to be, you have to the elite profit factor are above five and above. So I'm like right below that mark, which is still good. It's still good because you're profitable when you're over two, but I want to be elite. I want to be the best that I can be in this game. Uh, Going into like my tracker spreadsheet, nothing for me. No trade in particular really stood out this month. Like it was nothing but a whole bunch of singles. In fact, the biggest lessons that I could give aren't from my actual games because they are have not been nothing but singles, but just from the losses that I took this month. Um, but we'll get into them in a little bit. But if you look at my R multiple chart, you can see that that's still some work to do because you see I did take that 22% loss and I took two 10% losses, but the rest of them are within five, which is what I really like to see, and which that's how I want to base my trading. You can see that technology was one of the hottest sectors this month. Um, put just always just trying to get better and improve. You see, I added some more charts. Just this is how my R multiple is within, and this is the correlation of my P&L with the risk that I'm taking. So this chart stands for like the dollar risk that I took. So if I took a $500 risk to only make $320, so this was not a good trade. But if you look at this one, you see how I'm risking only $60 to make $470. So
Oh
I
man,
want a lot of them to be.
that's
I
dope.
want a lot of them to be around there. Yeah.
No, I need to get that to my chart. That's dope.
But yeah, and then this one is the dollar position size. So the range of positions that I'm taking right now, a lot of them have just been in the $3,000 range. As I'm getting better, I'm trying to push more size and get into the 6,000. You see, I took a one where it's kind of big, and you see, I only made $690 from that position size. But I want to start being around this range, like that 6,000 range, right around here, because it's smooth around here. But I have been very profitable, and this side just determines just the losses that I took, but still on the side with the position size. Uh, Overall account growth, I started this month with 331K, and I pretty much grew it to 40K. But this is my like full time. This is what I do full time, and I spent money in my account. Spent about 2.7K throughout the month. So overall, I have 37K left in my account, which it's still a cool starting point, but still good to just have grown my account 26% within this month. Um, Going to talk about important trades that I think happened throughout this month. The biggest lesson that I can think about was this OZSC on my panic dip. One other thing I want to note is it was cool of just how I changed my perspective and just getting better as a trader, because in the beginning, I was really only focusing on OTC panic dip buys, but now I can morph my focus and then trade these breakouts some. Like I'm still not getting the most out of the breakouts, which I don't like, but I am able to profit from them. Like you can see a lot of them, a lot of my profits came from the breakout pattern. So it was a lot of breakout. Then throughout the month, there was a whole bunch of dip buys, and I'm switching back between breakouts and dip buys and breakouts and dip buys, and those really have kind of just made my month. Uh, but important trade that I really want to go over is OZSC. And I feel like I was just talking about earlier that you learn a whole lot more rather than from your losses than your wins, because when you win, that's what you're supposed to do. That's essentially that means that your plan worked in some type of way or in some type of form, if you win for real at least. But when you lose, you there are good losses, don't get me wrong, but when you lose like big, like I lost 10% on this one, and I lost $700 on 700, almost $800 on this particular trade. That is important to me because that shows that was a flaw in my trading, and that you should catch that. Um, but if you look into where my entry was, you can see I entered around 0.0264, and you see on this day, this was supposed to be, to me, it was supposed to be a dip buy or on a red day, but you see it from the intraday, it went green on that day. But boom, I entered this stock, just entered in a random place, got really really undisciplined, and just entered in at a random location, not an important part, not no 30%. How I always talk about, like not even 20%, just a random spot on the trade, and I entered in right here at 0.0264. It would have at least been better if I waited to enter like 0.0225, because at least I'm correlating it with some type of importance in the chart. And in this particular trade, I did not at all. And there's a reason I paid the price for it. But, that's something that I am aware of and really dialing in going into the next month, to always be on my P's and Q's. Don't deteriorate from your process, because when you get away from your process, that's when I lose. So got in right there. And then I added at 252, which again isn't even red green, which is the most important part of this on this day would be that red green line, since it gapped up, got under red green, so I had to cut, took a bigger loss, cut at 0.0238. luckily I was able to, make some of it back on that day when I saw that level two starting to really tighten up because I finally got back on my senses, saw that it was only down about 20% from its highs from point oh 0.02 from point oh 0.03. So when it was only under 20% and it wasn't that extended yet on the chart, looking back, yeah, back here, you see that just really got started on this chart. So because of that, that gave me the confidence to long it again right into this range where it really started tightening up. And I got in at 0.0233, risking off that 0.022131 line. So the very, very tight risk and a lot of reward, as you can see. But again, this is a flaw in my trading. I'm in at 0.0223, and the reward is essentially this at this point. And I'm not expecting to make this move. Make this, I wouldn't even say to make this entire move, but to understand that this is your this is your risk, that little tight range. This is your reward. That right at 0.03. That is, I don't know about any of those, like, three, how many X times that risk it is, because I don't, like, that's something that I haven't gotten into yet. But I know that this is way, way bigger just from looking at a chart. From if you're only risking this much compared to if you're right, you can potentially gain this much. And I still sold myself short, only selling right into here because, just getting scared. But when I have to reckon, one of my biggest flaws is kind of just recognizing when um, recognizing when time is on my side, and yeah, just recognizing time is on my side, and when the stock is really, really working for me. When the stock is working for me, why am I selling at a random location? Like, just because I'm making 10%, it doesn't matter what for necessarily that I made 10%. Well, it does matter that you made 10%, but you have to let. I want my sales to be a combination of the chart is telling me where to exit, and my entries there have been on point. And I watched the interview a couple of days ago with Jack Kellogg, and he said in the last year around this time he was on the same kind of thing where his entries were always on point, but his perspective has changed. His exits, he cares about his exits more than his entries now. Because if he always is cutting that loss right, or he's always, letting the chart tell him where to really get out, that means he's maximizing all of his setups to the full potential, which is something I want to work on going forward.
Wow.
Um,
Especially when you when you turn around and just zoom out of it, like ooh,
you see it,
yeah.
that's that. I mean, selling at 0.033 was really the best case because that's in
Right.
that time span that would have been, you see. And even, like, remember, I have the rule sell before 11. Like, I didn't give it enough time. Like, I've been in since what, 10, 10, 13, 10, 16, around that range, but 11 o'clock, that's just not following my rules, just not taking it all off and not letting it, like, really, really work. There was no reason for me to sell.
Right.
It's just something I'm paying attention to. Uh, Other than that, nothing has no other trade has really, really stood out. See, my losses are still relatively small. Um, some, like this 20% loss. I guess I could talk about that. VDRM. This one was a very, very sloppy loss. Now that I'm thinking about it. Uh, VDRM. We get this parabolic move on stocks like this. You should always have them on your watch list because settle in base for a while, but just because this gave you a hint that it can spike again, I don't know when, but maybe months down the line, VDRM might be in play, and then I could potentially, nail that setup. But I played this stock on the 14th, and I tried to play it. Oh, I know exactly what happened. So I missed my initial, the opportunity on it right here. This first green candle where it doesn't look like much on the chart, but this is over 20% right here. Just this one little wick. But because I missed it and I wanted to enter it again, and I just wanted that individual like move right here because it's 0.075. This is a nice little 30% bounce. You get in, it's a quick 20%, you get out immediately. But I entered in right around here. And it's because I missed that move. I got emotional because I missed it. Not thinking about what am I really risking now. Not thinking about that bigger picture that this stock has came from 0.021 just yesterday, and it hit a high of seven
Sheesh.
cents.
Yeah.
Why in the world am I buying it when it's at 5 cents? So just putting myself in a terrible place for risk, like risk to reward, and types of stocks they move when they're they move like this, or they and move so big in percents within a couple of days. Um, really hard to you have to manage your risk differently because it's harder to cut right at where you want to cut at because during time of panic, these stocks like they'll just skip right over where you think you'll be able to cut at. And yeah, my order was in to cut it right at my place, but it just skipped right over it, and I was not prepared for that. And because of that, I tried to add again. I added right when I thought it was going to green, right here at 0.024 when I saw the level 2 starting to turn, and then it cracked down below even more. So of course I cut it when it cracked above below because one, I'm adding into a loser, that's a bad sign. You're never supposed to add into a loser on a dip buy, especially. Well, this is the first bounce, to be honest.
Right.
But yeah, you can't add into your losers on the first bounce. But you see, it finally did bounce when it cracked under 4. But yeah, this was just a sloppy trade for me in general. Just needed to put it into a bigger perspective of how big has this stock really ran, and how because it ran so much, the crash that it should have should be just as big almost. And that crash almost under 4 was that psychological key point. That was now in hindsight. Of course, in hindsight, everything is easier, but that does make sense why it bounced from there. Um, but a very very sloppy loss on my part. Just taking a 20% loss. Luckily, I didn't have much size. It was only $1,000 position size, but you can see how ugly. If I can see if you had a very small account, this type of loss you cannot take like
Exactly. Yeah.
that. Yeah, so you have to careful on stocks like those. Um, but other than that, too nothing too crazy. Going into next month, I don't have any expectations. I am just going to get just be make myself available if the market makes a move. So if if the OTCs are hot, cool. If they're not, I'll be ready to just relax and take a step back. I understand that it has been really hot, and I'm not upset because I'm still in the beginning of my journey. I'm on level 4. and I haven't been able to capitalize how I like to on every single sector momentum move, all the OTC moves that's been going on. But it's all due to experience, and I know that all of this screen time and putting in all this work, it was going to be worth it for one day. My time is to really, really come. But again, on this month, it is cool to still make 8.4K, but this is just the beginning. Like, there's still so much I can improve on. Still can let my winners run more. Still just letting the chart guide me in all of my decisions instead of letting the percent calculator just tell me exactly pinpoint areas where to exit. Um, just being just trying to grow as a trader and be the best trader that I could possibly be is what I'm focused on next month. But other than that, I don't have anything else.
All right, but definitely big congrats though on having your biggest month there. So that's just due
For
to
sure.
hard work, dedication, and every day just coming in, just putting in that work. All right, just let me know if you're able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
It's loading up right now. All right, I'm good.
You good? All right. All right. So, few things. Had my best month. Almost doubled my previous best, but I feel like there's a start. So I finished the month with $15,000. Had 4 red days. Biggest red day was $958.50. Then the second one was $528.27. So definitely need to work on those two. But the other two, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm not fine losing, but the fact that it's small is very, very manageable. $133.88, $278.68. Last month, I started the month off with 29,000 and ended up with 44,000. Um, so what I normally like to do is just wire money out, like every month, or now I'm gonna start trying to get in the habit of doing it like every week. That way, it's like me and Rocky was talking. Like make it like a game. You have 29, 30,000 in your account. Once you get it to a certain amount, wire the money out and just keep trying to do that over and over again. And plus, it's actually gratifying versus just seeing a number on the screen all the time. And you could actually just check your bank account and like, okay, wow, I got this amount in there.
Yeah, for sure.
So
If Alex does it, then you should probably do it because
exact,
we all broke compared to them.
exactly, yeah. Man's a Alex a beast. um, so here's some of my stats. I said I was gonna start tracking these patterns. And I think I did a really good job this month as far as like sticking to it. Because one thing about it, I said I was gonna, I'm trying to get better, and a part of getting better is tracking what you're doing. Because if you don't know what's working and what's not working, you're just shooting in the dark. So after 1 month, first red day, this is from Nasdaq, 81%. OTC first red day, it's a little bit misleading. It says 37% but that's because after the big loss that I took on ABML, I decided like anytime that an OTC stock pushes green after I'm playing the first red day, I'm automatically cutting, no ifs, ands, or buts. Um, but the good thing about it, even though it's 37%, like it's actually probably I got my biggest winners from a OTC red day. So the little scratches that I'm taking, I'm getting that back like 2x, 4x. Uh, so that's one good thing about it, like just keeping your losses small, because the time that you are right, like you could really maximize on those setups. OTC green to red short, I love that. Especially like I guess through Tim Sykes' framework, it will be considered what, a number 6 or is it number 7? Like it'll,
The bounce.
yeah, they have the bounce, but the second time it goes red again after the bounce.
Yeah, it's number 6 and 7 is the fade.
Okay, yeah, so that's been working really well. Ascending triangle, 55%. I love that pattern because the risk reward is so great and it's so optimal. Um, and I did after the first week I did reduce size, so I think recently for the last 3 weeks I just only been doing like 1,000 shares for the ascending triangle. Next month I'm gonna do 1,500 to eventually just to keep going up in size on that, because it does provide a lot of good singles, so good 20, 30, 40 cents pop. If you're just looking for singles, then you would catch the times that the stock would just from ascending triangle would go directly to a circuit halt, and then you could be talking about a couple of dollars, depending on the play, the catalyst, and all that. Sector momentum, probably that was 30 to 40% of my trades, because there was a lot of sector plays this month, and I think I did a pretty good job of capitalizing on most of them. Day one broken chart, I really haven't been trading it like that. Haven't been shorting, so that's the reason. Low hanging fruit, I think I traded that only 3 times January, then I just stopped because shorting pretty much was not in. So majority, probably I want to say like maybe 60 to 70% of my trades were longs, and I'm a short seller at heart. So for me to be able to have my best month and majority of it is long, that just lets me know that okay, there are opportunities on the long side that I am capitalizing on. Um, OTC afternoon buy, didn't really do much. Bounce short, didn't really play that. I think 3 times. OTC dip buy, that's becoming one of my favorites, especially in the morning. And I just added this one, OTC first bounce. I love that as well too. Breakout, only traded a few. VWAP break, I traded it 1 time. And this I just need to cut out the no pattern plays. So 43%. So I took some losses. So 60. So I took what 57% of the time when I take a no pattern play, I'm gonna lose. So I need to take this out of. I need to get this to 0. Like if it's not a pattern
Yeah,
that I'm accustomed
for
to,
sure. Yep.
like yeah,
Take it out.
yeah, no trading. So I'm gonna get onto so let this load up here. Oh, while I wait on that to load up, um, so overall month took 181 trades, which is better given the fact that the first week I was already at 70. So like me and Rocky previously discussed, for me less is best, and with the month that I'm having, it's a testament to that. Um, so I was 58%. That's lower than what I'm normally is. Biggest win was 1,700. Biggest loss was $748. So I'm gonna start with the $748. If you watch the previous videos, I did talk about that. So, because all my other losses really was just, it was really insignificant as far as like there's not really a lesson. Like it just, I'm just taking a loss. Like the stock went against me, so I took a loss. Um, and I have ABML listed for no pattern as far as with the $748. And the reason why I have it listed as that is the stock didn't go red. So what pattern am I actually playing? Like for me, in order for me to play a first red day on OTC, like the stock has to go red. And this was on the 22nd, and so happened that was the biggest day. And not only that too, the stock is not even extended. Like I'm just looking at it now. I mean, after I took the loss, I looked at it and I said the same thing. But if you're looking at the chart, let me get rid of view up. Okay, the breakout was 163 and the stock is at 230. Like this is not really an extension, you know. So remove this. I can keep that. So looking at it from
One thing that you should add one thing to one of your rules, just like, all right, you see where it broke out over 163. You
mhm.
could put that in terms of percent. It should always be over 50%. Like you're close to, honestly, closer to like 60, 70% before you even think about shorting.
Right, and
Yeah.
especially with this too, like this is a sign. Okay, this stock needs to be extended.
Yeah, it
Like
was only on this. It's only his second day.
yes,
Yeah.
second day. Uh, well, this is the day I shorted up, but I'm saying for the second day, like it went red and it popped back up. So that should let me know, hey, this stock may try to, test the red green mark, and plus it's not extended. So there's a couple of telltale signs that I shouldn't have been shorting, and the biggest one was, yo, the stock is not red. So why are you trying to anticipate it? Uh, Let me pull up the intraday. All right, so added all the days, green, red, and in all honesty, this should have been the day. Cause I even thought about buying it. Like once I was getting squeezed, I was like, "Yo, this actually should be a good buy." Um, cause it because a lot of time if a stock can't go red on the day, especially at the open, and it's reclaimed, um, well, let me rephrase that. If the stock can't go red on the day and the stock is in breakout mode, then that means that this stock have a lot of room that it could still go up. Because so many times you'll see a stock try to go red, bounce off of red green, and just continue to go when it's in breakout mode. It So once I saw this, I tried to, and it was like big bidders. It was like 230 was just like stacked. Like this whole screen right here was like 230, and a lot of prints were just going on the level two, and it wasn't moving. So I decided like, hey, maybe my 5,000 shares gonna do the trick. I don't know what I was thinking, but it finally did crack a little bit, 229. But immediately after it did that, 230 reclaimed itself. Then 231. Then 231 got not taken out, and the bid was at 231. And that was the sign. Like it gave me opportunity for me to get out, but I'm sitting there just saying like, well, let me just wait and see what's gonna happen. And of course, it started squeezing up. So, and it happened so fast, like it skipped. It was like 230. It was like 235 through 238. Like I'm steady trying to move up my order. Every time I'm moving it up, it's like, nope, you're gonna pay higher. Nope, you're gonna pay higher. So eventually, I got out at 243 ish, losing $700, and it's only been what, like 5 minutes since the market opened. So I'm already down like 700. And that was the day that I was like, yo, I'm going in revenge mode, and I just started trading away. And I think on that day, I traded maybe like 25, 20, maybe 25 times. So definitely, I think that's the biggest lesson for me in this month is like even if you're wrong on the trade, don't over trade. Don't make it worse. You know. I got lucky
For sure.
that I did that I caught a really good ascending triangle pattern, and that because I think on that day I was down like 2,300 at one point. But yeah, so the new rule for me, um, if it goes red and it goes over like it did on this day when I shorted it. Matter of fact, I could talk about that one because I initially shorted it here. It popped. Then I covered like at 210, 410. I'm sorry. Then as soon as it went back over, I shorted again. Actually ended up getting it at like $4. The next thing you know, it just started crashing. Covered some here. Like I was just covering along the way. Covered, bounced. Then once I saw it held again here, then I just got out the rest. And I think on that one I made about 1,500 or 1,600 based upon this short. I didn't dip buy it. I missed the dip buy. Um, the LKNCY. This is probably like one of my best breakout plays that I bought, and it was due to the ascending triangle. Like seeing, like there was just so many good factors that was going for this stock at this particular time. I did, however, leave a lot on the table with my sales, so I'm still working on that. But just looking at it from this standpoint here, it was like close to end of the day. It did a little ascending triangle here. The stock's above VWAP, and one good thing that I saw about it that there was a key level that I needed this to hold, which was this right here. This was the key level because you have a spike, came down, tried to break past here, but it couldn't. And you got another attempt, it couldn't. Then you had another attempt here, and it just pulled back. And the fact that this was holding up like all day above that level was a good sign that okay, this is trying to go higher, and it may be able to break out like the whole day. Nice consolidation, tight range, just like very tight, a little perk. Then you had this a night.
That was real nice.
Yeah.
That was a very nice entry.
Yeah.
Uh,
As soon as I seen the igniting candle here, and I got in on the dip, 2,000 shares. So broke out, started selling in here. Then I rebought the dip over here, and the bad thing that I did was instead of just holding, because now I had, I went back to a core, not even core position, but just adding back the shares that I sold just to, lock in profit. I end up selling like right around here. What I should have did, like we always discuss, like time is on your side. Like it's, or power hours about to come. It's breaking out. Like all the signs were there, just okay, just hold. But instead, I sold some here. Then as this started ramping up, I'm selling here, selling here, selling here, selling here, selling here, and I left 600. Uh, I left $600. I mean 600 shares at the close. 600 shares. I was still up. Like at this point in time, I think I locked in. I locked in maybe like 1100 with another 600 shares here. Um, that would have made me be up. Like had I just taken out, I would have been up like 2100. But I held it overnight, and the stock ended up gapping. And I was expecting like a huge gap up, because this had history of like once it had this ramping action the next day, huge gap up, but it didn't happen. Instead, it had a gap down, so I just quickly sold the remaining 600 shares, and I think I only made like 700. So I left like 300 on the table had I just sold there. But overall, still good trade, and I end up making like 1700 on this trade here. The last trade was for me. I think a good lesson was on there was EXPR. And the reason why I say a good lesson is like when it comes to sector plays, um, it's when it comes to sector plays, it's follow the leader. So you have Express have this huge gap up or this huge spike, and the spike came from them saying they're the next GME. So GME is GameStop, and you see what GameStop done. So big spike, then a big gap up. Then the very next day, huge gap down. So with huge gap downs with volume the previous day, you could bet short sellers are in. Swing this overnight thinking they're going to ride this thing all the way back down to like the ones. And during like after hour, GameStop just started running out of nowhere. So GameStop was running. That was the catalyst. Let me get it here. Because the whole day was just fading. GameStop started running after hours, so automatically this started to run too. So I waited. So I pretty much waited like right before the market closed. Just wanted to make sure that the trend was still intact. So I bought like 1,000 shares at like right around here. Then I had another order of 1,000 shares right here. So that brought my average to like 373. The mistake that I did was wake up too early, because as soon as I woke up and I saw this thing started going, I just started selling in pieces. And what really messed me up was this bounce, this drop right here. So with this drop, I sold the remaining of my shares, thinking that was it. But it was only like 4:30 a.m. So like had a long ways before the market opened. And yeah, and that's what happened. It got all the way up to the eights. Then regular market, it got to the 11s. So definitely the lesson for this is just like don't underestimate the sector plays, especially if you're locking in. I could have just because I had locked up like $1,000 before I made my last sell of the last 500. Because $500, like if you really think about it, my average selling was like 430. This thing got all the way up to 8. So $500 shares, had I just left it with a $4 more upside. I mean, that's what? That's another 1,000 or 2,000. Yeah. So that's a lot of money just leaving on the table. I know I probably wouldn't have caught this, just like holding all this, then having this big drawdown. Then, yeah, this part I'm not worried about. But just the whole fact that I'm selling 4:25 a.m. pre-market, and pre-market is over at 9:29. So like I had a whole bunch of time to be able to just hold that core position, the last 500 shares to be able to sell. So the for me next month, definitely working on my exits. Still trying to keep, you know, trading less is best for me. Um, like Rocky, I don't have no expectation. Yes, I had a really good month. Um, Not guaranteed that I'm gonna have a really good month next month. So I'm just gonna go with what the market gives me. Not trying to force anything, and just continue just to improve. You got anything else you want to add, Rocky?
Just stay in the course. Not don't ever get too high. Not get too low. Know that yeah, we both did have our best months, but what does that really mean? When it comes to trading, like you can have your best month, and then the next month like, lose everything. So never getting too high because in this game everything can be taken away from you.
Exactly.
So just staying the course, staying with your process. But that's it.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully you got something out of this. This is actually take two, so have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. All right, guys.